22-year-old Savannah Spurlock went missing on January 4th, 2019, after going to a bar with a friend. 6 months later, her remains were found and her case was finally solved. But there were so many unanswered questions as to why or how Savannah was murdered. Let's go over some of the details in case you haven't heard about this case. I am here. I haven't posted in 2 weeks and it's a new channel. Like, what is wrong with me? But I run my own Etsy store and I've been so busy with Mother's Day orders. It's unbelievable and it's also a blessing. I just have been so busy. But I am here now and I'm ready to tell you about this new case that is recently resolved. So today we're going to be talking about the case of Savannah Marie Spurlock. Savannah was 22 years old, born on February 5th, 1996, in Richmond, Kentucky, to Ellen and Cecil Spurlock. Savannah was one of 2 daughters, her younger sister Stephanie being 9 years younger. Savannah also graduated from Madison Central High School in 2014. Savannah had an energetic personality. She was known to always be smiling and always happy. She loved to have fun, and her family and friends describe her as a bright spirit and a soul that touched almost everyone that she came in contact with. She mostly enjoyed spending time with her friends and family, and she was very family-oriented. I believe in 2014, Savannah was 18 years old and became pregnant with her first child named Noah, and then followed her second child named Jace 2 years later in 2016. Another 2 years later, in 2018, Savannah attended Eastern Kentucky University to study health administration. But soon after, she found out she was pregnant for the 3rd time, and this time she found out she was pregnant with twins. Yes, 2 more boys named Zane and Zuri. I hope I'm saying Zuri right. I hope that's how you pronounce it. So with a now soon-to-be crazy life with 4 boys, all under the ages of 4, she decided to put college on hold. Now, I know her oldest son Noah has a different dad, and her 2nd, 3rd, and 4th child are all with the same father. I believe his name is Shaquille Smith and goes by the name Shaq. Savannah ends up moving into her mother's house for help raising all of her boys. Now, I'm not sure at this time if her and her 3 youngest boys' father were together at the time, and I'm not sure if they were together when the boys were actually born. On December 1st, 2018, her twin boys, Zane and Zuri, were born. She loved being a mom. I'm sure it was hard at times, but Savannah somehow figured it out and made things work. She was the best mother that she could be for all 4 of these boys. On January 3rd, 2019, when the twins were about a month old, Savannah had a friend over at the home where she stayed with her mom, and they decided to go out. This is the first time that she's gone out in a long time, so she asked her mom if she could borrow her car for a few hours. Her mom agrees and lets her know that she needs the car in the morning to be home. So Savannah assures her she won't be gone long, and she heads out the door. Savannah and her friend stop at another friend's house where Savannah leaves her mom's car and they get in the friend's car. Around 12:05 in the morning, Savannah and her friends arrive at a bar called The Other Bar. This is in Lexington, Kentucky. It's about 30-40 miles away from where Savannah lived at the time. During this time at the bar, Savannah and her friends meet 3 men. Neither Savannah or her friends have ever seen these men before, but in an interview later on, her friend states that they seemed to be very normal. They didn't feel uncomfortable to be around. They seemed very nice, and they just all hung out and got to know each other. A little bit later, one of the men in the group said that he had to go because he had something to do the next day. Then a little bit later after that, Savannah's friend was ready to go. She wanted to leave, but Savannah wasn't ready. They ended up getting into a brief little argument, and the friend storms out and leaves Savannah with the 2 men that she doesn't know. I know that's girl code. I don't care if I want to leave and my friend didn't, or vice versa. We're not going to leave without each other. That's just girl code. You don't do that, especially leaving a friend at a bar with people that they don't know. And this is the first time that Savannah's been out in a while. Her babies are only 4, 2, and 1 month old. So she probably just wanted to enjoy herself. She probably was just taking full advantage of being able to be out and about and enjoy herself. So they got to the bar at 12 and her friend wanted to leave soon after. I mean, that doesn't seem like a lot of time, but I understand where Savannah's coming from. So Savannah at this point is now alone with two men that she's never met. But they've all been hanging out for a little while now. I'm sure she feels maybe she trusts them and safe with them. So she decides to stay and not leave with the friend. Security footage shows Savannah leaving around closing time with the two men about 2:30 in the morning. Savannah was wearing high heel stilettos, a knee-high maroon skirt, a quarter-sleeve v-neck black blouse, and was carrying a black crossover clutch bag. The footage also showed Savannah crossing her arms, going like this as if it was very cold outside. It was January, so I'm sure she was very cold without a jacket. A few minutes later, another security camera captures Savannah walking with the same two males towards a parking garage. This time, she's walking across grass and she's holding on to one of the male's arms, kind of like linking arms with him. Now, I'm not sure if she was holding on to the man to brace herself for a fall. If you are used to wearing heels and you've ever walked on grass before, you know that the heel gets stuck in the grass and it's really hard to walk, especially after drinking. So I don't know if she was holding on to this man for help with walking or if there was some type of romantic interest. Inside the parking garage, another camera captures Savannah leaving with the two men inside of a regular vehicle, and then it shows the man who left previously in the night following them behind in his truck. Around 3 in the morning, Savannah's mom calls her concerned because she woke up and noticed Savannah still wasn't home. And probably too because she needed the car in the morning, and I know back in the day when I used to borrow my mom's car, I know my mom wasn't able to sleep, one, because I'm out and about with friends, and two, because I have her car. Especially if she needed her car in the morning and not knowing if I was going to make it home in time, I'm sure it was really hard for my mom to sleep. So maybe her mom felt this way as well. So she asks Savannah when she's going to be home, and Savannah gets upset and hangs up on her. But then a few minutes later, Savannah calls her mom back, but this time on FaceTime. She assures her mom that she's fine and that she'll have the car back and she'll be home within the next few hours. Her mom says that she heard a lot of rowdiness in the background. She heard one of the guys tell her mom to chill out. And also she saw on the FaceTime call that Savannah was in the back seat with a male that she's never seen before, and another male was driving. A few hours later, around 8:30 in the morning, Savannah's mom wakes up and realizes Savannah's still not home. She calls her constantly and she gets no answer. The phone is going straight to voicemail. But she didn't call authorities right away. She thought maybe Savannah was just still out and she hadn't been out in a very long time. She was definitely upset, but there was nothing she could do until she actually got in contact with Savannah. Throughout the day, Savannah's social media remained inactive, which was very alarming to her mom because Savannah was very attached to her social media and her friends. Her phone was still going to her voicemail, but there was nothing that she could do. She just kept waiting and waiting for Savannah to come home, or at least call. Around 7 p.m., her mom had enough. She went into full-on panic mode because Savannah still was not answering her phone. It was going straight to voicemail. She still was not going on social media. So she began to panic and call the Richmond Police Department and report Savannah missing. Police immediately began to track Savannah's last movements. They go to the friend's house where they find Savannah's mom's car, and during the search of the vehicle, they noticed Savannah's main purse was left because, as most women do, they don't want to walk around in a club or a bar with a big bulky purse. So a lot of women will bring, a little clutch purse or something to just throw their ID, their debit card, or money, and their cell phone in, maybe some lipstick, just something easier to carry. So just like Savannah did, she had that crossover clutch purse that she was carrying in the security footage. Some other things were found in the vehicle, which were red flags to police because I guess they said that a lot of the things that they found, Savannah wouldn't have left for a long period of time. I'm not sure what those items were. They never disclosed it, or I've never seen it. After searching the vehicle, they go to the area that Savannah was last known to be. They end up looking at the security footage, which is the footage that I told you about earlier in the video, where it shows Savannah leaving with the two men, and also the footage from the parking garage. After releasing the camera footage to the public to try to identify these three men, on January 9th, one of the men were identified as 23-year-old David Sparks. January 22nd, they head over to David's home in Garrett County, which is about 20 to 50 minutes away from where the bar was. Armed with a search warrant, they search his rental property. They did not find any sign of Savannah or any evidence of foul play. When questioning David, he claims that he, Savannah, and two other men went back to his house after they left the bar. They continued to drink and hang out. Eventually, the two other male friends left, and Savannah stayed at David's home. He claims that he let her have his bedroom and he slept on the couch. He also says sometime the next morning, Savannah had woken him up asking him where they were, as if she was trying to arrange for a ride. He said he fell back asleep, and then he woke up around noon and she was gone. He didn't know if she got a ride or if she left on foot. Which, remember, Savannah was in very high heels. She was in a skirt. She had no jacket. Her mother later claims that Savannah had no money on her, and it was really cold. There was no jacket. So, plus, not to mention, it was in the middle of nowhere. There was tons of fields. So it would just be kind of weird for Savannah to try to walk somewhere instead of trying to arrange for a ride first. Police did find evidence of Savannah being in the residence, but they didn't find any proof or anything of how she would have left. Police and volunteers searched around David's residence and nearby areas. They didn't find any signs of Savannah anywhere. But in February, searchers did find a piece of ripped fabric. It was maroon. They believed it was possibly part of Savannah's maroon skirt she had been wearing that night, but police don't believe there's any link to Savannah's case. Then a couple of months later, a hiker found a bag of clothes and shoes, reported it to police, thinking it could have been related to Savannah, but then again, the police said that there's no link to Savannah's case. So that was the fail. So during the next few months, Savannah's case was tight-lipped. Police and investigators weren't telling her family or the public anything about the case. But Savannah's family did know that David's home was searched, his parents' home was searched, and also police got a tip to search David's father's former church. They had mentioned that they knew that there was a large deep freezer in that church, and they just thought that maybe the police should search the church. So they did, and of course they came up with nothing. Family and friends placed multiple tip boxes around Garrett County, just so the community can handwrite tips and place them in this box. If you're familiar with the little libraries that people make and place in neighborhoods, it's similar to that. If I can find a picture of what it looks like, I will put it in this video. Family and friends also raised $15,000 for the discovery or safe return of Savannah, and or first tip that leads to a successful arrest and conviction of a person responsible. Now, looking into David's criminal history and his background, David came from a really great family. He was very close with his father and his sisters. He had a good job, and he was very well liked by anyone who knew him. As far as his criminal background, he got in trouble for a few traffic violations, like not wearing a seatbelt or having car insurance. His two major offenses were a marijuana charge, and he had gotten a DUI. But nothing serious as far as violent crimes or any aggressive type of background. David remained a suspect in Savannah's disappearance and was 100% still on the police's radar. They just believed that David's story didn't make sense to them. But on July 10th, 2019, which was 7 months after Savannah was last seen, police were shocked when David and his father walked into the police department. David's father claimed he had smelled a foul odor coming somewhere on his property, which he believed it was coming from the backyard. While David was being questioned, police arrive at David's father's home. This is now where David is currently living. He no longer rents out that property where Savannah was last known to be. They begin to search the property, and an investigator says that the smell was so strong that they didn't even need a cadaver dog. It was clear to where the smell was coming from. A few minutes before 12 a.m. on July 10th, remains were located in David's father's backyard. The burial was only 19 inches deep, and the body was in an unnatural position. That's what the police released to the public. Later comes out, the investigator describes what he meant by that, and it's that the head was towards the feet as if the body was folded in half, and the police also noticed that the feet were bound with shipping tape. Beneath the body, there was a rug and also a rope located on the side of the remains. David was then arrested around 1:55 in the morning, charged with abuse of a corpse and tampering with evidence. On July 11th, remains that were found were positively identified as Savannah Marie Spurlock. When conducting the autopsy, it came back as inconclusive, and the medical examiner had no idea how Savannah was murdered. After discovering that the remains belonged to Savannah, David then had the charge of murder added onto his charges. Savannah's funeral was held on July 16th, where it was a private service with only friends and family. On her tombstone, it did have her birthday, and her passing date was marked as July 10th. I'm not really sure why they did that. I'm thinking it's because that's when they retrieved her remains and she was finally brought home to her family. I'm not really sure. I tried to look online about that, but I'm just assuming here. So, because I do know that she had to have passed away January 4th when she went missing that morning, but on her tombstone it does say July 10th. During further investigation, when David was already arrested, investigators find out that on January 4th, the same day that Savannah was last in his home, David contacted one of his sisters and asked her where she purchased the rug that was in his bedroom so he could purchase a new one. They ended up finding surveillance footage from a local Walmart where David was seen to be purchasing the same type of style rug that was also laying beneath Savannah's remains. Now that David no longer lives at that rental property that he lived at previously, police went and searched the home and ended up finding blood DNA of Savannah's in his bedroom closet. Police believe that Savannah was somewhere deceased on the property or inside the home when they first originally searched the property. After they searched the property, they believe that David ended up moving her body to his family's home. September 2019, David Sparks pleads not guilty, and his trial was set to begin December 17, 2020. Savannah's family and friends were hopeful that during the trial, he would let them know how or why Savannah's life was taken. But David ended up accepting a plea deal in exchange for a 50-year sentence with the possibility of parole in 20 years. His trial was via Zoom call in front of a judge, while family and friends of both Savannah and David were present on the call. It was very quick. David himself did not speak, and Savannah's family declined to give a victim impact statement. David was sentenced to 50 years in prison for the murder of Savannah Marie Spurlock. He received 50 years for the murder, 5 years for tampering with evidence, and 12 months for abuse of a corpse, which the judge had all three of these charges run concurrent. Now, I am new to the true crime community, so I am still learning, certain terms. I'm gonna say what I think it is, and if I'm wrong, please correct me in the comments. I do believe that he's being charged with all three of these crimes at the same time and would have to serve the highest amount of time out of those three charges. So in this case, out of the three charges, the highest was 50 years for the murder. So that's why he received 50 years. Am I explaining that correctly? I really hope so. I did try to do my research on that, and I'm a little confused because there's different states have different things, I guess. So David has only ever admitted to intentionally causing the death of Savannah, and he acted alone while doing so. He also admitted to tying her up and putting her in plastic bags and then burying her. Now, I can't find anything online as far as the abuse of a corpse. Seeing online, that can kind of go for anything, concealing a body, or I'm not really sure if there was any sexual relations between David and Savannah, whether it be consensual or forced, or did he sexually assault her? I'm not sure. I have not seen anything like that online. So there is a lot of unanswered questions, and I hope one day it comes out, but I highly doubt it. Just like the Sierra Lamar case, he's eligible for parole in 20 years, so I doubt he's going to talk any further. But he has still to this day never explained to anyone what happened that terrible morning or how or why Savannah's life was taken. After the trial, some of Savannah's friends and family shared with news reporters about how they felt after the sentencing. Lisa Thomas, who is Savannah's aunt and also her strongest advocate, she had said, quote, "He got off easily being behind a mask, behind a computer, and not having to face the family in person," end quote. Which she's referring to them all being on that Zoom call. David is shown, David's seen with his mask on and only his eyes showing and not having to face the family, face to face. Stephanie Spurlock, which is Savannah's little sister, says, quote, "I feel a little justice was served, but he'll be judged by God on Judgment Day," end quote. Shaquille Smith, also known as Shaq, the father of Savannah's youngest 3 boys, he also was interviewed and he states, quote, "I feel like it's a relief for everyone who is close to Savannah, but there will be no trial to sit through. For me, justice wasn't served." He then goes on to say 50 years or less doesn't seem like a fair trade for a life, end quote. Savannah's mom, Ellen, has been in multiple interviews and she can't express enough of how much she just wants to know what happened. She doesn't understand why this man would do this to her daughter. She says that he didn't even know her, and she just wants to know why he chose to do this to Savannah, and it just hurts her to not know those answers. As of 2021, no charges have ever been filed against the 2 other men that were with Savannah and David that night, and they were never looked at as suspects in Savannah's case. Savannah's sons are now 6, 4, and the twins are 2 years old. I believe the 3 youngest boys live with their father, Shaq, and his girlfriend. I seen on one of Shaq's Facebook posts that he describes his sons adoring his girlfriend. He says in his own words that his girlfriend is just taking on this motherly role with flying colors. So I'm so glad that these boys are loved and are happy. They seem happy. There's some cute little videos of them. And I'm just glad that they have this woman as a mother figure in their lives. So they all seem to be doing very well. As far as Savannah's oldest son, Noah, he has a different father than the other 3 boys. So I couldn't find any information if he's being raised by his father or if his father's even in his life or if he's being raised by Savannah's family. But I do hope he is thriving and doing great as a normal 6-year-old should. I have seen that 4 teddy bears were especially made for each one of the boys with a photo of Savannah on each of them and her voice recording inside. If you're familiar with the Build-A-Bear company, it's something similar to that. I don't believe the Build-A-Bear company is the ones that made it, but when you squeeze the either, foot or hand, there's a voice of Savannah's. I'll try to include that here in the video.
Baby. Go, bub. Go, bub. You my big boy. Yes, you are. Yes, you are. I love you. Are you being big boy? I love you. Get it, buddy. Good job.
That is just absolutely heartbreaking to hear, but yet so amazing that these bears were made especially for her boys, and when they squeeze it, they can hear her voice again. Not only does Savannah leave behind and is deeply missed by her 4 boys, her mom, her dad, her aunt and uncle, her little sister, but she also has a best friend who is also her 4 boys' godmother. Her best friend's name is Sabrina. I wouldn't want my best friend to be left out of a video like this if something were to happen to me, so I did want to include her in this video. And I did want to include the wonderful news that Savannah is now a godmother from heaven. Yes, her best friend Sabrina did have her little girl named Savannah about a year ago, and I believe the Sav part of her name is named after Savannah, which is pretty awesome to me. So congratulations to you if you're watching this. She's beautiful, and I know Savannah would have loved her and spoiled her just like you did her boys. My heart goes out to Savannah's family and friends, and also her 4 boys. So please keep them in your prayers. As far as my opinion on David, 20 years he's eligible for parole. That doesn't mean that he'll actually get it, but it is possible, and that makes me sick. I mean, he took this 22-year-old mother of 4's life and away from her loved ones for what? There's no reason he can give me, and no excuse he can give me as to why he did this or to why this happened. So she was a mom, and she recently had a baby, and she just wanted to go out and have a good time. And then this happens. I just can't believe it. It's incredibly sad to me that these boys just don't have their mom anymore. I just want to know what happened, what caused him to do this to her. There's just a lot of unanswered questions. I'm not sure if we'll ever really know what happened. Same with the Sierra Lamar case. He wouldn't want to incriminate himself, especially because he could possibly be out in 20 years. I'm saying a lot because I just don't know what to say. Oh, there we go again. But that is all that I have on the case of Savannah Spurlock. So if you like this video and it was easy to follow along, please thumbs up this video, watch some past videos, and subscribe if you haven't already. And I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.